Hi, I'm Denise Dryden. I'm live here in White Sulphur Springs at this amazing campground called Conestoga, and it's just outside the town of White Sulphur Springs, and the music festival is right up the hill. So dressed in the sundress, got the sunscreen on, ready to go, but I wanted to make sure that we spent about 10. I'm going to approach this because I started. Okay, so it looks like my connection is weak, and that it doesn't surprise me. Anywhere we go in rural Montana, it's interesting. We're going to hear cars going by and trailers leaving, and it's going to be interesting. So let's talk about the 4 essential as the trailer goes by. Meanwhile, you can sort of see there's this windmill. This is White Sulphur Springs. It's pretty darn interesting out here. Okay, 4 essential things that I believe as a young adult coach since 1995, that this is where we want our 22, our 24, our 25-year-old to be, so we start early. So the first stage is going to be between 0 and 5, and it's where we bring an infant into the world and they have no idea what earth, what their life is going to be like. The example I use with a lot of parents is, it's like being on, and I'm going to date myself of course, the Star Trek deck where Kirk and Spock get on the transporter room, and they know they're going to a planet, they know they're going down to do something, but they're not sure that their research is accurate or exactly what it's going to look like when they get there. They may be really prepared, but that first moment where they kind of come into form and they're like, okay, this is the planet, this is where we are, this is what we do. Acclimate, scan, record, duplicate, and that's what we do as infants. And so it's essential as a parent of an infant to understand that your role is to translate that for them. This is what water feels like. This is what sun when it's hot is like. This is what hot things are in your hands. This is how we learn, you and I, to coexist, and you start to tell me what you need and what I need, and we start to partner, and it's that dance. And so, you know, we're up here at a music festival with some people we haven't been with before, and they've never been to a music festival. So it's sort of like, you know, that little bit of at the beginning, and then that dance of like we're starting to get into the flow of just being there for the day and everybody taking care of themselves. That's what infant parenting or infant toddler parenting is really all about. It's watching them go up to something and saying, tell me what you see. Tell me what you want to know about that. And it means that we have to drop everything as a parent and become very attuned to what our child is experiencing, and then we are the guardian of that attunement. If they freak out, we have to stand there and say, so what is it that's happening to you? What just happened there? Or if we see it, it's like, it's okay. So let's go at it a different way. Let's come back in and see if we can, you know, touch that, be around that animal, try that new food. And so our role as parents is to introduce them to everything that represents the culture that we birth them into. So, you know, for me, we live in the United States. It's about, this is what we learn how to do. This is the foods we eat. This is the way that we eat. And the most important part in 0 to 5 is remembering that soul is wide open, and they can remember a lot of who they are, and they have an intuitive set of skills that we aren't always available to. So we have to use our intuition. We have to be intuitive, and we have to meet them where they are and be their translator. Does that make sense? So when we pass them off at 5 years old into preschool or kindergarten, they're ready. They have a solid sense of self. They know what to expect. They know what startles them. They know why, and what they can do about it. And we give them a little bit of confidence so that they can then sort of branch out and go into a bigger world of more people and more people and more people. But you are the initial translator. Stage 2 is that 5 to, it could be 5 to 14, it could be 5 to 12. It just depends on how independent your child is. But we're looking at that skill building phase, which is when everything is about, here's a skill that we need on this world at this time. You need to learn how to go to the bathroom by yourself. You need to learn how to wash your hands. You need to learn how to boil water and make food. You need to learn how to get yourself dressed. You need to know that it's important at some point when you get out of bed to bring your bed back into a place so that you're ready to crawl into it at the end of the day. All of these are skill building that are about what is essential for that child to learn. And if we approach it from, this is what I know as a parent, this is what I had to do, and we impose our rules and restrictions and expectations on our children, watch out for those. Because some of those are not necessarily real. Some of those don't matter. And I've got this huge RV going by now, so I'm going to step in so you can hear me a little bit more. Skill building is about giving them an experience. You're in charge of washing the dishes. You're in charge of, here, let's make a meal. Why don't you show me how we would make pasta? So that by the time they get to 12, 13, 14, they have a tremendous amount of skills. So for my children, we camped. We camped 2 weeks out, then we come back and go out for another week and come back. So we pretty much spent the whole summer, because I was insistent that when my kids were younger, I was going to be right there with them in summer. You know, summer is my favorite time to play, so I want my summer vacations off. So I stayed home with my kids and we camped. How do you make a fire? How do you make tea and coffee? How do you barbecue? How do you get the coals to stay? How do you protect the camp? How do you set up a camp? How do you, get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night if you're scared? These are all things that are skill building, that from 5 to 12, we don't want to hand it over to the schools. We want to know what systems do we want our children to have so that they're prepared. Because the third phase of parenting is practicing this independence. So when you have a 14, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old at home, that's not the time to start imposing chores or have an expectation that they're all of a sudden going to know how to clean their room or to do the chores that you ask them. These should already be well oiled. And now what you're doing is you're stepping back and you're saying, you're going to be home for a couple hours in the afternoon. You're in charge of dinner tonight. Or what do you want from, let's go to the grocery store tonight so that you know that you can make dinner tomorrow night. Or, you're in charge of laundry. Or we're going camping and could you put up the rain system? Like my son Alex and I, every time it rained, we kind of look at the clouds and we go, oh, it's gonna rain. We need a rain shelter. And he's perfect at being able to rig up a system that won't blow over, that's solidly staked down. And these are confidence building. So we give them a skill between 5 and 12 or 14. And then from 14 to 18, we practice those skills and we step back a little further and back a little further and back a little further. And so what we're doing as a parent is we're teaching them that they have the ability and that they get to practice under our guidance, under our mentoring sort of energy. Okay, because the most important part is that young adulthood from 18, 19, 20, depends on when they really step into that. It can kind of move around, but technically it's 18. To 25 is where we become like satellite parents or the consultant coach, which is, you got this, you know how to do this. And you can call me if you have questions. You can call me if you're freaking out. I'm not going to do it for you. I'm not going to bail you out, but I am going to coach you. I'm going to say, so what's happening? What do you need? And what skills can you apply to that? And what can I do to be a support system for you? I was in a parent workshop on Thursday before we came down to the music festival, and I was working with an 18-year-old, and after 4 years of just batting heads with his parents all the time, they were in program at this place where they were really starting to co-create what works for them. And when we asked this beautiful emerging 18-year-old, what is it that you need from us in order to know that you're supported? And he said, well, I want you to tell me when I'm not doing my chores, and I want you to tell me and remind me when I'm not getting my applications for college in. I want you to. And it's like, stop. That's not your parents' job anymore. Their job isn't to manage you. That little bit more between 12 and again. Oh, we're back. Okay, good. So as a young adult, our role is to be there and to kind of keep pushing them further into independence. But we can't do that at 18 if we've never taught them how to manage money, how to get a job, what happens when your boss sucks, how do you identify a good roommate versus a bad roommate, what happens when you have a conflict with a coach or a teacher or a boss or a boyfriend or a girlfriend, learning how to cook, learning how to keep house. That's too late at 18 to start doing that stuff. So what I'm here to encourage you is all of you parents who have children, 15, 16 and below, start building those skills. Start lining up intuitively and saying, what is it that I'm noticing that you might need right now from me? And I'm here. And I'm a plethora of information that you may or may not want. And you can push against it, or you and I can do a huge fifth wheel just went by. Or you and I can do the dance of, I'm mad at you, you're trying to make me do something. Or you can just say, I'm not making you do anything. This is your life. There it is. And I'm going to thank you. Now, if you have any questions about this, if you want to talk about new moms, new dads, and how to bond intuitively with your child, give me a call. If you want some really solid skill building tools on what you can expect at 5 and 7 and 8 and 10 and 12, that's what we're here for. Coaches are great at being able to help you separate from what you know as a kid growing up and what worked for you and what you think your children should do versus what your child is actually asking you that they need. And then, of course, adolescents and young adults are my favorite. Young adults, let's get those skills, that independent skill, honed really well. You can check me out on this Facebook page, on DeniseDrydenCoaching.com, and see what I've got to offer. And we're going to talk live next week, who knows, somewhere in Montana closer to Whitefish, because I think we're done traveling for a few days or weeks. All right, thank you very much for joining me, and have a wonderful day.